10, Spadina. To Union Station. Please wear a mask or face covering when riding the TTC.
Hey, what's up guys? Today is Saturday, August 8th. It's 8:42 p.m. and the temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. That was the 510 Spadina Streetcar I just got off, and the plan for this walk is to head around Chinatown and check out some of the restaurants and places that are now open for indoor service that weren't previously during stage 2 of the coronavirus pandemic reopening. This was not the video I had planned on uploading for Sunday morning. I had gone on a rather long bike ride today out to Mississauga from Toronto, and then I rode home, but the footage was not usable, so when life gives you lemons, I guess you go to Chinatown and film a second video for the day. So that was College Street. Chinatown is loosely located between College Street to the north and just north of Queen Street West to the south. And then it runs along Dundas Street West for a few blocks on either side. So this is the east side of Spadina Avenue. I'm currently heading southbound. I tried to get here a little earlier so it would be fully light out. So we could experience the full sundown during this walk, but the TTC had better ideas as Line 1 is running shuttle buses and there's quite a traffic nightmare as you get towards Bloor Yonge Station. So I think this is just about the advertised sundown time. The days of it being light at 9 p.m. are no longer for this summer. And Chinatown itself was particularly hard hit by this coronavirus, as so many of the establishments here are restaurants and cafes. That's pretty much what this neighborhood is known for. So when they were limited to takeout only or outside dining only during stage 2, I'm sure these places were particularly hard hit. You will notice Chinese characters on the street signs. You'll also find them on some of the residential streets in this neighborhood. I'll have to come back and do a daytime walk where I can cover some of those residential streets, as they're not going to be particularly well lit at this time. And just across the street, a block to the west, is Kensington Market, which you may have heard of. Sorry. Probably should have stepped on the road there. good to see people inside the restaurants and eating, although they are at a limited capacity.
Kids in gold. Over here, dear. It's right there.
This is Baldwin Street, just down here. To the left, you'll find Baldwin Village, which is a very underrated part of town.
So the worker gets out and goes.
Camera's just saying.
This LCBO is always interesting. It's not the most... Whoa, you really should not be riding an e-bike on the sidewalk. As I was saying, that LCBO is one of the more interesting ones in the city. It's always got a very pleasant smell to it. And there is Rolsan, which I would say is probably the restaurant I frequented the most in Chinatown. It's an all-day dim sum restaurant, but they're open till the wee hours of night, so when you're craving that sweet and sour pork and beef and broccoli and Shanghai noodles and you just want to fill the table up with greasy but delicious Chinese food, that's sort of the go-to spot, at least among my circle of friends. There's a few notable places across the street over there, but we'll get back to that soon. I'm going to just head south down Spadina. I'll take a look down Dundas Street and then continue on. There's Swatow. That's one of the more highly regarded restaurants in this area. Chinatown's so big and it has so many restaurants, I think everyone tends to have their own favorites. And coming up, this is the intersection of Dundas and Spadina. So this would sort of be the ground central for Toronto's Chinatown, or West Chinatown as it's sometimes known. So I'll just turn left and head east down Dundas for a bit. The original downtown Chinatown was located several blocks to the east of here. But in the 50s and 60s, everything sort of migrated to the west a little bit, which is how this became known as West Chinatown. There still are some original holdouts to the east, but most of that area was cleared to make room for the new City Hall, which I think opened in 1965. The original settlers to this area were from the south of China, along with Hong Kong, so it's been traditionally Cantonese speaking. But recent immigration patterns have seen a very large influx of mainland Chinese, so there's more and more Mandarin speaking in Toronto and the surrounding areas. And well off to the east of here, just east of downtown, over the other side of the Don River and Riverdale, is the East Chinatown neighborhood. That one was started in the early 70s. And it was initially settled by some of the people who were displaced from the original Chinatown. Summers in Toronto are often full of tourists and people from other parts of Ontario and the rest of Canada, so this is still unusually quiet for a Saturday night. It's almost shocking. And some people are still apprehensive about going out and dining. There's Kachi. That was a Korean restaurant. There's an awful lot of Korean and Southeast Asian and Vietnamese restaurants in this area. And this is pretty much the end of Chinatown. That's the Art Gallery of Ontario, just there on the right. So we'll take a look. This is the Lucky Moose Food Mart. There goes the 505 Dundas Streetcar. That'll carry on through the Little Portugal neighborhood where I did a walkthrough on Friday and uploaded it for Saturday morning. I'm now traveling west on Dundas Street. I have to pause and think about that for a second, as sometimes I'll say the wrong one.
No, that's just what anti.
There's a Champions off-track betting. And that is the Dim Sum King. There's a lot of dim sum restaurants. It looks like there's a hot pot on top. That might just be the largest dim sum restaurant in the city. And I was not aware of that hot pot restaurant. I recently had hot pot in Taipei, and it was quite fantastic, although I couldn't tell you the difference between hot pot and a dish I've had in Korea and Japan before called shabu shabu. They're pretty much variants of the same thing. Kind of like how every Asian country seems to have its own name for dumplings. In Korea they call it mandu, but again, I couldn't really tell you the difference between one or the other than the name. And the same goes for hot pot. I think that guy was just taking a pee on the side of the building. Not sure if the camera picked that up or not, but now he's casually walking back to the sidewalk. Don't think I'll go investigate for puddles. It definitely has more of a Monday night kind of vibe. This restaurant is called B1. It's a Korean restaurant. Toronto does have a Koreatown located in between Bathurst and Christie Street on Bloor. It's one of my favorite neighborhoods in the city. There's also another area north of Yonge and Shepherd known as Willowdale. And that area features a number of Korean and Asian restaurants. It's often known as a second Koreatown, but there's no shortage of Chinese or Taiwanese and Japanese restaurants there either. So we're back to Dundas and Spadina. I'm going to turn left here. That's Dragon City across the street. So the next major street, a few blocks to the south here, is Queen Street West. Chinatown sort of comes to an end just before there. I love Bitcoin. So do I. It's been steadily increasing in value lately. So that's, for those of you that hold Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, that's kind of been neat to watch. Maybe it'll be another false alarm. Here we have a white bicycle. I've talked about those in previous videos, but basically that marks the spot where a cyclist was killed. There's been a large influx of ramen restaurants into the city lately. This food market's usually quite busy during the week, but or during the daytime, I guess, but it's closed. It is 9 p.m. right now. And this part of Spadina isn't particularly well lit. So I think this next street is the formal end of Chinatown, so that's where I'll turn around and head north back up the other side. I was thinking of doing a narrated walk through Kensington Market tomorrow, but we'll see if I still feel like that as I'm just in this area now. That's Sonic Boom Records right there, and I will cross here. Looks like we're not getting the light. Let's give this thing a knock with my phone. Just assume that it was pressed. Whoops. This is the second largest Chinatown in Canada after Vancouver's. I don't really think there's anything else even close to either of these two cities, Chinatowns in the country. And running north to south up Spadina Avenue, up to Bloor Street is the 510 Spadina Streetcar. That's what I got off of at the start of this walk. Are we finally going to get a light here? Look how dark that cyclist with no bike lights on is. That's just stupidly dangerous. There's a look north up the streetcar tracks. This is the Chinatown Center. It's kind of a rundown mini mall with a Super 8 hotel. You could also call it Pigeon Plaza, as during the day, usually this place is just covered in pigeons. So now I'm heading north on Spadina up the west side. It's already quite a bit darker than when I started. I think the sun has completely set. If not, at least it's almost there. This Vietnamese restaurant is a bit of a staple amongst a lot of people from the downtown drinking scene. It's not uncommon, or at least it wasn't back in the early 2000s, to see altercations there. A whole lot of young and drunk people with a lot of steam to blow off, I guess. But it's also outside of that, which actually was kind of in the minority of experiences. It's one of those places that's just a place to be at the late hours of the night. I couldn't tell you if it's still like that, but I could tell you that one of the same waiters from way back when I used to go there is still there now. And he recognizes me and hooks me up from time to time, so thank you for that. So we're approaching Dundas, and this is the Dragon Center on the left. And in the upper floors, there's a dim sum restaurant called Sky Dragon, which offers up a fairly spectacular view of the city. I couldn't tell you how their dim sum is, even though I had it. Looks like the CN Tower is currently dawning blue right now. Toronto must-try dumpling. $2.99 for 6 pieces. Not sure if that's a good deal. And this place here is kind of the reason why I walked down this way. It's a Vietnamese pho or pho, however you want to say it, restaurant that's 24 hours. Dear customers, we will reopen on Friday, August 21st. Welcome everyone. That's good news. It's something of a neighborhood institution. And Chinatown continues for a few more blocks here to the west, although there's not a whole lot happening. There are some vegan and vegetarian Chinese restaurants just past the Augusta Avenue. So this is now heading east on Dundas Street towards Spadina. I'll turn north on Spadina and just finish up the walk through Chinatown. So just up here on the left is one of the most well-known restaurants in the city, or at least in Chinatown, King's Noodle. You'll often see pigs hanging in the window. That's smart. On the sidewalk, no lights. Can we just throw that guy in jail? I think I've heard that King's Noodle has gone downhill since they changed owners. I've only been there a few times, so I couldn't really validate that. There's a banh mi restaurant with Chinese characters on the sign. That dumpling house is often cited as one of the go-to dumpling restaurants in Toronto. I've been there several times. Never been disappointed. It's certainly one of those places that's quite cramped and rather hot. And this is St. Andrew Street, so you could take this left into Kensington Market. It looks like Fo Hung is doing a good business. I have been there too many times to count. Looks like they reopened on August 7th. When stage 2 hit and restaurants were allowed to serve customers outdoors, I didn't really see that trend pop up here, even though there's very large sidewalks. There wasn't much, if any at all, of the sidewalk patios that have sprung up all over the city. Not sure why that is. It's extremely dark here. You're not just seeing things on the camera. There's almost no lighting in this section, so let's just get through that. And this is Baldwin Street, which is a continuation of Baldwin Street on the other side, over there. And there's a look down Kensington Market. I'll be sure to come back and do a night walk through there at some point. Kensington's one of those sort of must-see neighborhoods in Toronto if you're ever visiting. And so is Chinatown. I'm not sure if I passed them or not. There's a couple of, oh, there it is. There's New Ho King. That's a restaurant that's been here forever and it's extremely well known. But to be honest, I don't think it's very good. It's just one of those neighborhood institutions, I guess. And of course, what Chinatown is complete without a Krispy Kreme donuts? Let's just jaywalk. There's a lot of Taiwanese style bubble tea popping up. It's a wave I first saw in the city in the early 2000s, but it seems to be back in full force. That's the New Ho King, but if you are in this part, I think you'd make a much better choice to go to this place. Canton Chili. Their chili chicken is quite fantastic. Certainly no culinary expert, nor have I tried everything here. So we're sort of getting back towards College Street, where this all began. There used to be a lot more places where you would get things like really cheap discount luggage, like you see on this store here. When I say cheap, I mean you'll be lucky if it survives a single flight and tax. But where else are you going to get something suitable for, well, I guess they're not suitable because they don't last, but something that looks suitable for a flight for such a low cost? When I moved to Korea back in 2007, I bought a very large suitcase from one of these places and I had to throw it out as soon as I got there. The plastic liners inside were crushed. That place is called the Red Lounge. ANC, vintage games. And coming up is the El Macombo Tavern, just here on the left, perhaps best known for a 1977 Rolling Stones concert. I think I read that Pierre Trudeau, who was the Prime Minister of Canada, his wife was there for that concert. It's one of the most famous rock venues in the city. It was going to close for good in 2014, but one of the Dragon's Den, I guess dragons you would call them, which is the, for Americans, that would be our equivalent to Shark Tank, bought it. And it's since been extensively renovated, and I think there's a full music recording studio there. So this is College Street, just straight ahead. You could enter Kensington Market on the left, or you could carry on straight into Little Italy and then through Little Portugal. And that way will take you further into downtown. And speaking of the Alma Combo, some of the other bands that have played there that I can remember are like the U2, the White Stripes, Duran Duran. Blondie has played there, Meatloaf, Jimi Hendrix, Queens of the Stone Age recently did a show there. Well, recently, but not too long ago. Bon Jovi has played there. So it's one of those storied music venues, and it's definitely a good thing for the city that it has survived. But what hasn't survived is straight ahead on the left is the former Silver Dollar, which is sort of a jazz and live music venue. And that might be the streetcar I want to take home. That's okay. And just past here on the left is the Scott Mission, which is sort of a homeless shelter of sorts. And there you go. That was pretty much the main parts of Chinatown, or West Chinatown. I'll plan on at some point coming back here in the daytime and exploring some of the residential streets as well, perhaps going through Baldwin Village, and I'll definitely be coming back to do Kensington Market at some point, perhaps tomorrow if I still feel like it. Ooh. This car almost turned up the streetcar tracks. One of the good things about having these dedicated streetcar ways is I can already see there's another streetcar on its way. Should be here in about a minute. It looks like it's down near Baldwin right now. Guess I should get my mask ready. A lot of people have commented in these videos that Toronto is doomed to have a really bad second wave. They're not seeing people wearing masks outdoors. Well, I'm not sure that's quite so true. A lot of people inside are wearing masks as mandated by city bylaw, although there's still a fair share of people that skirt that or wear them improperly, such as under their nose. But yesterday was the 6th straight day of reduced infection numbers. I think we've had less than 100 now for 6 days in a row in the entire province of Ontario. And I think I saw the city of Toronto had 1 new case yesterday, and they are testing north of 20 to 25,000 per day in the province. So the numbers are extremely good right now. But how that plays out remains to be seen, with all the kids going back to school, at least on a part-time basis, next month. I'll just keep this recording until the streetcar gets here. Got the mask on. So this will take me up to Spadina Station, where I will either board the northbound subway up to Eglinton, then take the 32 bus, or 34 over to Yonge and Eglinton, or I could take the subway to Yonge Street, but then I'll have to board a shuttle bus.
Spadina to Spadina Station.
look down the train. There's not a whole lot more to see, so thanks for watching, guys. There are links to Instagram and Patreon in the comments, and huge thanks to all the recent Patreon members who have signed up. I think we're at 6 or 7 right now, so I'll be providing some bonus content soon for them. Yeah, I can't even get a shot out the window. So leave your thoughts and comments below as always, and thanks for watching, and have a good night.